Question 5. I just want to talk through how you would go about doing the general journal, because everything is obviously built on the general journal. So I'll just talk you through that. I'm not going to show the general journal solution on the screen. I want you to be able to think about it yourselves and work through it. So the first one, interest received 800, but on the wrong side of the nominal ledger, entered the incorrect side of the trial balance. So that means the interest received account, I put the number on the wrong side. So if you ever put something on the wrong side, what we do is you put it on the right side and double it to change from the fact that something was put in as a minus. If you want to bring it in as a plus, you have to first cancel the minus. So we'll put 800 in for that first, and then we'll do the plus, the number that should have been put in. So we'll end up putting two 800s in. We would know that interest received is an income. So because it's an income, it should have a credit entry in it. And then because it was on the wrong side of the trial balance, it meant my trial balance didn't balance, so we would have to have a suspense account. So that means we'll have the opposite in a suspense account. Okay, so that means a debit in suspense account of 1600. A vehicle cost 26, trading a new vehicle costing 38. So this, I gave a video explaining exactly how this was to be done, so I'll talk you through this one. So we had, in our motor vehicles account, I need to change motor vehicles. I need to change my provision account, okay, because this is the account that would have had all of the depreciation over all the years in this vehicle. We have to work out, did I make a profit or a loss when I sold the vehicle? So did I over depreciate or under depreciate it? Did I get more than the thing was worth, or did I get less? And the last thing I have to do is, when you do a trade-in, you have to spend money, so I'm going to have a payment out of my bank account. So there's the four accounts: motor vehicles, provision for depreciation, a disposal account, which could be an income or an expense, i.e. did we make a profit or a loss when we sold it, and finally the last account then is bank. So the motor vehicles, where we're going to lose 26, we're going to get 38, so the difference in the two of those is 12 grand. So I'm going to have 12 grand more in my motor vehicles. Motor vehicles is an asset, so I'll put that on the debit side. Provision for depreciation is a liability account, so that liability is going to go down. Now let me just check. So the depreciation to date on the old vehicle was 12 grand, so I had 12 grand on the credit side in this liability account, provision for depreciation. So I'm going to cancel it, take it out when I get rid of the vehicle, so I'll put a debit entry in that account. If I have an allowance of 10 grand for the old van, that means they gave me 10 grand for the van. So that means in bank, I would have, to get a new van costing 38, and I had 10 grand allowed for the old one, means I wrote a check for 28 grand. So I should have 28 grand in bank. And the last thing then is I need to work out, did I make a profit or loss? Well, the vehicle cost 26. It had 12 grand of an allowance, okay, or sorry, depreciation over all the years. So that means the day that I sold it, it was worth 26 minus 12, so it was worth 14 grand. But I got 10 grand for it, so I made a loss of 4. So there's 4 grand in the disposal account on the debit side because it's an expense. Now, number 3. Provision for bad debts should be 500, so I explained in another video that provision for bad debts is a liability which reduces the amount we expect to receive from our debtors. So that liability should have been 500, okay? I put 300 in, so I need to have another 200 put into provision for bad debts. So because of the liability, I'm putting an extra 200, so that's going to be a credit of 200. And if the wrong number was put in, it would have affected my trial balance. So therefore I must have a suspense for the opposite amount. Okay, so suspense account for 200 and it'll be the opposite side. Next one, payment for private repairs. So private always makes you think of either drawings or capital. In this case, the business is paying for something, so that's the owner taking money out, so that's drawings. This have been debited repairs and rent, so I'm going to cancel that first. So I'll credit repairs, credit rent to cancel that, and then I'll put it into the correct place, which is drawings. Okay, because both of these, rent of private dwelling, private repairs, both of those are drawings. So you'll have a debit in drawings. Goods bought and credit 14.7 returned by O'Connell. They're incorrectly treated as 17.4 on the credit of debtors account and 15 grand the debit of sales returns. Well, the easiest thing to do is let's cancel what we did do, and we notice that the amount is different, so therefore there's going to have to be a suspense at the very end. So let's cancel what we did do. So we had a credit in debtors. So I'm going to debit debtors 17.4, and I'm going to, it was put on debit of sales returns, so I'll put a credit in sales returns of 15. So that's the first bit done. So I'll cancel what we did do. Now I'll do what should have happened in the first place. So goods bought and credit have been returned by O'Connell. So I am O'Connell, so that will be sales returns. So sales is an income, sales returns is the opposite, so it's an expense. So I'll have a debit in sales returns, and the people who I owe money to are my creditors, so I'll have a credit in creditors of the same figure, 14.7. And then suspense is going to have the difference between the two sides. If you add up all the debits and credits you've just done, you'll find what the suspense amount is. Last one, check paid by O'Connell out of a private bank account. So the owner is paying for something for the business privately, so that's the owner putting money into the business, so that would be capital. So you'll have capital, which is a liability, credit 4.5. And what's it paying for? For hire of equipment. So hire of equipment would be an expense. Now it's up to 31st of 3rd, 2007. And we're doing this for 2006. So that means there must be a prepaid for hire of equipment. So how you'd work out, so we're going to have the expense, hire of equipment, which is going to be a debit because expense is debit. And we also have a prepay, so we are owed extra money back from whoever we're hiring the equipment from because we've paid so much in advance for next year, so that's prepaid, which will be a current asset. So how do you work out how much of the 4.5 is an expense, how much is the asset? Well, you're paying for 15 months. 3 months of that is going to be next year. So 3/15 of 4,500 is going to be the prepaid, and the remaining 12/15 is going to be the expense. I hope that helps you when you're trying to do the question.